And we're back. Hopefully you were able to take a look at these problems and try to figure out which formula you would use. So for example, on this next one, they both go out of the circle. So that would be a secant and a secant, which means that we would use the formula w plus x times w equals y plus z times y. And then taking a look at this one right here, I have a secant, but that other side only touches once. So this would be a secant and a tangent, which would be formula 3. If we look at that formula chart, a secant and a tangent, so that would be y plus z times y equals t squared. Then the next one, same thing. So I have a secant and then I have that tangent with 7. So y plus z times y equals t squared. Then over here, same one again, secant and tangent. So y plus z times y equals t squared. Down here I have a secant and a secant. So that would be w plus x times w equals y plus z times y. Hopefully you're getting a lot of these right. This next one is just a chord and a chord. So AB equals CD. And then our last one, another secant and tangent. So y plus z times y equals t squared. Now, once we've figured out the formula, now we need to label and figure out, well, which parts would be w and x and w and y and z and y. And we're not going to solve all of these. In fact, several of these equations actually get into quadratics, which goes back to algebra 1 and gets into algebra 2. That's whenever you had x squared, and so then you had to square root it and solve all of that. So we're not going to get into the more complicated quadratics. For example, this one right here is a complicated quadratic, but we are going to get into some of the more simpler quadratic ones. So taking a look at this one, I need to remember that x and w have to go on the same secant. And if we go back and look at our formula chart, x and w have to be on the same secant, but w has to be on the outside. Just like with z and y has to be on the outside. So if I go back and I label, that would make this inside part x and that outside part w, whereas this other inside part would be z and that outside part would be y. So x and w are together with w on the outside, and y and z are together with y on the outside. We would plug it in, and that one will give us a quadratic. So taking a look at this next one, I have y and z again, and y and z has to be the secant, so I'm going to go ahead and label that, where y is on the outside and z is on the inside. And what I like about these one is that your tangent is just your t. So your tangent will automatically be the t. Z and y will go together with y on the outside and z on the inside. And from here, we're just going to plug it in. So y is 1 plus z is 3 times y is 1 equals t is x squared. Well, 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 times 1 just makes that 4 equals x squared. And just like with Pythagorean theorem, we're not going to divide by 2. We're going to square root that, and the square root of 4 is just 2. So x would equal 2. That's it. So taking a look at the next one. So remember that with my secant, I already figured out the formula that y and z have to go on the secant. T has to be the tangent. And that with y and z, y is on the outside and z is on the inside. So when I go to write out this formula, I'm going to have 5 plus z is x times y is 5 equals 7 squared. I'm taking the values that I labeled and just plugging them in. So I said y was 5, z was x, and t was 7. And now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So 7 squared, 7 times 7 would be 49. And then whenever I have these parentheses, that means I'm going to need to distribute. So think 5 times 5 would make that 25 plus 5 times x would be 5x equals 49. And now I'm just solving this equation. So I'm trying to get x by itself, which means I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides. So 5x equals 49 minus 25 is 24. Divide both sides by 5. And sometimes we get decimals, and that's okay. For this one, we're going to get the x is 4.8. That's it. So taking a look at another one, once again, we're going to label the tangent as t. And then we're going to have y and z, but remember that y has to go on the outside. So y would go on the outside and z would go on the inside. So when I come down here, y is x plus 10 times y is x equals t is 12 squared. So this is one that will give us a quadratic because when I go to distribute, x times x will give me x squared plus 10x equals 144. And it's not like I can just square root things because I have that 10x in there causing problems, whereas I didn't over here. So this is an example of one that would be a quadratic. You're not going to have to deal with any of these today. So moving on, taking a look at this one right here. We're going to skip some of these. We're going to go around. So remember that A and B have to go together and C and D have to go together. So it doesn't matter which one is A, but whatever one is A, B has to be on the same chord. And then on the other chord, it has to be C and D, so C and D. So now I'm going to go ahead and write that out. So A was 9 times B is 16 equals C was x times 18. So I'm going to give you a minute to find out what 9 times 16 is. So 9 times 16 would be 144 equals 18x. And then if we divide both sides by 18, x would equal 8. And that's it. Now, these other two that are on here are going to give us quadratics, but we can practice labeling. Remember that if we have a secant and a secant, w and x have to go together and x has to be on the inside. So if I make that one x, that one has to be w. I can also do it down here. I could make this one x and then make this one w. I would get the same answer. And then y and z have to go together with z on the inside and y on the outside. So that's how I would label that one, plug it in, and we would end up with a quadratic, and that's okay. Over here, same thing. T's always our tangent. And then z and y have to go together with z on the inside and y on the outside. So once you figure out your formula label, then you're just plugging it in and going from there, and you won't have any complicated quadratics to solve. You can cross out, there were some typos in these problems, so you can just cross those out, and that's it for today. Good luck.